Hi, Kristian. Thanks so much for giving us some of your time. It was interesting to hear the panel about the investing scene in the gaming industry, which is not an area that I know much about, so I'm fairly got educated today. Obviously, you're an expert in that. Can you tell me what your main focus is in your firm as far as investing in gaming?
Sure. So Initial Capital is a seed investment fund.
Okay.
So we're actually a collection of entrepreneurs who've had multiple successful game companies in the past. I was actually a co-founder of what today's Glue Mobile, a public games company, today public on the NASDAQ. And I was then the chief exec and co-founder of Playfish, which sold to Electronic Arts back in 2009 for about 400 million. So, and I was an executive at Electronic Arts after that. So me and, if you like, my co-founders, what we have is a seed investment company that focuses on finding very early stage game companies and consumer internet companies who need help growing the company from start.
And that's fabulous because obviously you would have incredible experience and ideas about supporting an entrepreneur rather than just with the capital.
Yeah, that's right. So the way we think about it is that instead of getting together and setting up one single game company, if you like, as a founding team, what we instead do is we try to find like-minded teams out there and really help them with everything from product and marketing, which are my own areas of expertise, to technology, which is my co-founder's expertise, or M&A and further financing, which is also expertise inside the group, if you like. So yeah, we try to be very much, we think capital is a commodity. We think it's the skills. It's the skills that are needed for early stage companies. So my main piece of advice for folks fundraising, whether it's in games or frankly in any other area, is treat fundraising like a recruitment exercise. Think about what skill sets you want on board and get money in from people who you think will bring those skill sets around the table.
And so I gather that's the reason that you got into being a venture capitalist, is that because you wanted to plant those seeds all over rather than have one company?
Yeah, that's right.
That's a lovely thing.
I don't think of myself really as a venture capitalist. I think of myself more as if you like, a seed investor, more of a co-founder, if you like, inside companies. So, like for example, we led the seed investment round into Supercell, for example, which is the largest iOS games company today, and did the $1.5 billion deal with SoftBank recently. And with companies like that, it really, what we try and do is get in very, very early and be very helpful with the team growing the company. So we don't think of ourselves as venture capitalists. We don't take any outside money, for example. We invest our own money. So we don't have any investment objectives from that perspective. We don't have any outside LPs to explain a longer term investment strategy to. So we really can partner with the entrepreneur and really focus on the long term.
Is it profitable to run an investing firm as you're doing?
Well, we have been very fortunate in that where with the Supercell investment, we invested at a very early stage of the company that's today valued at $3 billion. So I suppose you could call that profitable. Great.
And I'm wondering, there's a lot of changes happening in the investment world, obviously, with the Jobs Act, and also what I'm noticing coming from Europe and originally being Australian is that there's obviously a lot of startups and ecosystems popping up all over the world, which there wasn't 5 years ago. It's quite incredible to me, exciting, and obviously none of it will ever come up to the calibre of Silicon Valley because it's taken so many years to build this culture. But it's offering possibilities globally that we didn't have, even 5 years ago. So all of this obviously is affecting the venture capital industry or the investing industry, and I'm always interested to hear from investors what their viewpoint is on that.
So I agree with you. I think the startup ecosystem, if you like, is globalizing very rapidly because the barriers to entry, if you like, what it takes to set up a successful company, they are just coming down. You can set up a great company anywhere in the world right now. And I built my first 2 ventures out of London, for example. And again, Supercell, our most successful investment to date, was built out of Finland, which is also my home country. And so I would say the startup ecosystems around London, around Helsinki, around Berlin are actually beginning to rival the Silicon Valley, not necessarily in depth in terms of the sheer amount of startups, the sheer amount of capital deployed, but in specific areas. For example, the most successful companies in games today, King.com and Supercell, are both European. They are, King is London-based and Stockholm-based, and Supercell is Helsinki-based. So it goes to show that within specific verticals, you get expertise in other places also. And we at Initial Capital are huge believers that Silicon Valley is not the be-all and end-all of everything at all. In fact, most of our team is in London. I am out here in Silicon Valley, and I'm also frequent in Finland. So we are really investing across the full axis of Europe and the United States.
Okay, so I know when I was in London, we're talking quite a few years back, 8 years, that it was much more difficult to raise investment. I can see even from all the media that that's changing. How would you say the situation is like in Europe for startups trying to raise capital?
Well, I think Europe has evolved a lot. I think it's true that in the, call it the early 2000s, there was something called a nuclear winter, where it was incredibly hard to raise any money in Europe at all. But since then, there's been both a lot of development of international funds, like say Index Ventures, for example, who are comfortable investing at an early and a late stage. Atomico Ventures, for example, as well. And you also have a set of seed funds, if you like, of entrepreneurs who have been successful in the past, who are keen to team up with early stage entrepreneurs and help them get going and supply them with the first tranche of capital, like ourselves, for example. So I actually think the ecosystem has evolved and developed a lot. There's still room for sure, and I think what is very important is that ecosystem around entrepreneurs who are successful, that they go back into the game and help new startups, I think is very important. And I think we're starting to see that kind of critical mass happening in London, in Helsinki, in Berlin, and some other places.
That's great, because I had heard from investors that had gone over to Europe that seems to be a big issue, or had been a big issue. So that's great that that's changing. So I really appreciate you giving us this time today and a little window into your world and into the gaming world. And I've been really enthused meeting you. Thank you.
No, thanks for having me.